Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Comdo Show, where we talk Taekwondo all day, every day. My name is Teresa Stanley. I'm a 6th-degree black belt, and this is Grandmaster Craig Stanley, the founder of the Comdo Project. We are going to talk about another type or two types of sine wave today.
All right. So previously we did slipping, and now we're going to do the opposite, pulling. And pulling also has an A and a B version on how to create sine wave to increase the power in your techniques. And just like slipping, if you want to check that video out, we explained how the A version is the powerful version, and the B version is somewhat lack of sine wave, but you got to name them both because they both are called slipping. In this case, both are called pulling. So pulling, the general rule for it is you're going from a larger stance to a smaller stance.
Okay, and before you guys have a meltdown about it, it's not the 1.5 length or the measurement. Yeah. It's the physical. If I had a ruler.
Yes. Yes. So like a walking stance is physically longer than an L stance. Yeah. Okay. Even though they're both technically 1.5 shoulders long, right? But that's not an agreed upon measuring tool in the world. Inches and centimeters. That's what we're going to be using, right? Pulling is going to happen, and again, it's trying to create mass movement. Now, if you think about pulling, larger stance to smaller stance, you're moving away ultimately from your opponent. So how can we get mass involved in that technique? Well, it's how you pull away, because we're going to change pulling away to actually moving towards our opponent. So now if I'm in a walking stance, and why don't you go into the walking stance, and we can do it a little bit more explanation this way. So the opponent is standing right here, and the assumption would be they're moving in. They're coming closer to you. That's why you got to move back. So the longer stance is the walking stance. Let's end up in an L stance, which is a shorter one. This moving foot, the foot you're moving, is going to be pulling back, but it comes to within a half shoulder width distance of the stationary foot. Then it moves forward, ending up shorter than it was, because now you're in an L stance. But you'll notice, because you're now 1.5 shoulders long and you were a half a shoulder width distance away from the stationary foot, you're now moving forward 1 full shoulder width into the next technique, which means your mass is now moving towards your opponent. So go back to the walking stance, and now watch. This knee's going to relax. The back knee relaxes. That's the down. Then she comes up, and then she goes back down into the new stance. There's your sine wave. Down, up, down. Pulling version B. Again, it's due to circumstances that don't allow you to do that full pull back and move forward. So in this case, you're not going to be moving forward. You're just going to be moving backwards. So when you do this one, again, it's the circumstances that are creating the situation.
Like this one.
Exactly. The opponent is moving in too quickly for you to pull back and move forward. And remember, these are patterns or imaginary opponents. So that first opponent was coming in slower, but still coming in. This one's coming in faster. So in this case, if you want to go do that again, we're in a longer stance, L stance, and we're going to pull back, and we're going to go to a vertical stance, downward strike, let's say. There we go. With this one, pulling back, there's no mass moving forward. So again, this is now identifying a slightly weaker action, but it's still pulling. So we have to call it pulling version B, because we don't do the pulling version A, which creates all that, the down, up, down, and all that kind of stuff. So in this one, you're literally just standing up and striking, doing this technique. So the sine wave of down, up, down, the umbrella term, doesn't really happen here.
Well, and I think also the purpose, this is a dodge.
Yeah.
When you think about the actual move, you're, like you said, they're coming in too fast or too close too quickly. The priority is get out of the way.
Yeah.
Right? So that would be a circumstance for this particular sine wave.
No, exactly. And again, the sine wave action is trying to create as much power as you can under the circumstances.
Right.
And sometimes you can do lots of little things to create the power, and sometimes you just kind of have to do what you can, and that eliminates some of the things. But it's still, you can't just say this is not pulling. it is pulling. So we have to call it pulling version B because
and
A is
on an
the
instructional
real
point. So if you're an instructor, like that is easier to explain also to a student rather than just having random outliers. Like, no, this is under this umbrella. So, you know, whether you're a student watching today or an instructor trying to help your students, it's just a really great way that the general helps us identify different movements in our patterns.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's right.
All right, awesome. Well, again, we'd love to hear your thoughts on pulling or sine wave or, you know, things that have come up in your training, what you don't understand. Or just different perspectives. So drop a comment below, like, share the video. Make sure to follow us on all our socials, and then get on the list for our new app that's dropping at the end of June 2026. And we will see you on the next video.
Take care.